Hey guys, my name is Alex Vasquez and I'm the area director for Sioux County Young Life. Today I get to share with you a little bit about meaningful contact work. And when I think about contact work, I think about the story uh, of my high school experience. My junior year in high school, I was one of the football players. I made varsity. I had the cheerleading girlfriend. I had good grades, and I thought I had it all figured out. There's also this teacher named Michael Cohn who came into this school who was really popular. Everyone liked him. He was a history teacher. I heard all these stories about him being really funny and down to earth. And I didn't really get to know him because I didn't have him as a teacher. But my junior year, I made a terrible mistake and caused a lot of pain on a lot of people. So I felt like all my friends turned away from me. They were all upset. And it was a day in the cafeteria where I was sitting by myself. I usually would sit around with a lot of people. And Michael Cohn walked by, and I remember being interested, like, is this guy gonna come talk to me? And he did. He sat right next to me. And here was this guy, this old white male who was bald, fat, and we had nothing in common, right? But he sits with me and starts talking. And he invites me over to go hang out with the other guys. And I said, no, I don't think you understand. A lot of people are mad with me. And he did something that was super weird. He actually didn't invite me to go somewhere. He invited himself to hang out with me. And I was just like, what? Are you asking me? Are you telling me? But he was like, hey, man, let's hang out. Can I come hang out with you on this day of the week? And I thought that was super interesting. But because of Michael Cohn, I got to experience my first club, my first camp, and ultimately that started a journey where I started a relationship with Jesus Christ. I share this story with you because it reminds me of a story in the Bible. It's actually in Luke 19. And if you want to turn with me to the story, but the story is about Jesus and Zacchaeus. And Jesus entered the town of Jericho and he meets this guy named Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus is this tax collector that was hated among his people. He betrayed them and it made a lot of people very angry. But Jesus was known to fill up crowds, and everywhere he went, people would want to listen. And Zacchaeus was intrigued, but he didn't want to go too close. So he climbed up a fig tree. And Jesus noticed him out of all the people and walks up to Zacchaeus and tells him, come down. I must be the guest of your home today. Did you catch that? Isn't that weird? I must be the guest of your hometown, but I'll keep going. Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and he was excited, but people were displeased. It says right here that people said, he has gone to be the guest of a notorious sinner, they grumbled. People really didn't like Zacchaeus. Meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood in front of the Lord and said, I will give half of my wealth to the poor, Lord, and I have cheated people on their taxes, and I will give them back 4 times as much. And this is what Jesus said. Salvation has come to this home today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save those who are lost. I don't know about you, but I identified with the story, with Zacchaeus being hated, being far out. And I think this is what it means to do contact work. We get to learn from Jesus himself. He's the example that we all look after. But there's a few things about the story that I want to point out to you. The first, I want to point out with you that Michael Cohn lived among his people. He was a teacher, meaning that he was around kids all the time. Now, I know not all of you are teachers, but I want to encourage you to think about contact work as you're living in a home. You get to know people. You get to figure out what they like. Maybe you figure out what they don't like, but you live among the people you do contact work with, you do ministry with. The other thing I want to point out is notice how a lot of people were upset with Jesus that he was hanging out with the sinner. And in the same way, Michael Cohn wasn't scared off by the things that people were saying about me. In fact, he came and wanted to hang out with me, and he invited me to hang out with some other people, even though he knew that they wouldn't, but he still wanted to approach me. He wasn't intimidated by that. And also, he was, like I said, he was so different from me, right? Had nothing in common, but he didn't let that scare away. And I feel like sometimes we get comfortable reaching the kids that are sort of like us, but why don't we go after people who are not like us? The last thing I want to point out about the story is notice how Jesus invites himself. Now, Cone did the same thing to me. And when I ask leaders to do this, they think I'm the weirdest person ever. Why would I invite myself somewhere? Why would I text someone who I don't know? Is this idea of they're gonna think I'm weird, but I want to encourage you to literally like leave those things behind. Do something that normally you wouldn't do. And obviously it has to be something that is not against any of the rules or the laws, but I want to encourage you to just go for it. Invite yourself to one of their games, invite yourself to their house, ask them, hey, can I come meet your parents? I know those things sound weird, but hey, if Jesus did it, I want to give it a shot. I also want to talk to you guys about some do's and don'ts within Young Life and contact work. I encourage all of you and invite you to pray before you do contact work. It's so important that you start off with prayer. That means you're not doing it on your own strength, but God's strength. It means that you're not leaving it up to the words that you want to speak, but you're asking Jesus, give me the words to speak to the student. And ultimately, if they reject us, they're not like it's not up to us, right? So we put it at Jesus's feet. It's important that you start off with prayer. I think it's important that you be yourself, that you don't try to be someone else, but make a fool out of yourself. It's so important that, hey, if you need to come and make a fool out of yourself, it's okay. Young Life, we're known to be silly, to make ourselves look foolish, all for the sake of the gospel. And we're also known for humor. So why not try to make some things up? I think it's important that people get to see the humor in relationships. God is not all about structure and order. He also likes to have fun and have emotions. Skits and all the things we get to do, music, or all the reason why we get to earn the right to be heard. I think one of the things that holds us back is us being afraid to not be accepted or rejected. Leave that out the door, guys. Last thing I want to encourage all of you to do, especially if you're a college student, to plan ahead for your contact work plan. Look at your college schedules. If you are an adult, look through your job schedule and try to work around there. Have a plan in place to be able to do contact work. I don't know who said this, but it's someone way smarter than me. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that's true with contact work. So I'd encourage all of you to have a plan in place to do contact work. Again, like I said, it's not up to us, and it's literally just us being obedient. Wow, I threw a lot at you. There's a lot that I shared with you. So I want to encourage you in your area to take some time to go over some of the things that we talked about today. I shared with you a story about my high school experience. Were you able to connect, or was there anything that was highlighted to you? Or maybe it was the story of Jesus and Zacchaeus that you connected with. Is there something that you can pull from that maybe I didn't even point out from the story that you can use for contact work? Now, are you ready to invite yourself over to someone? Is that weird? Is that something that you don't agree with? I want you to talk about it. Are you willing to make yourself look like a fool to be able to earn the right to be heard? And are you pursuing kids that do not look like you, who don't share the same interests as you? And lastly, do you have a plan in place? And if you don't, what do you need to do to get to that place? I hope that some of the things that I shared with you are things that will help you in your area do meaningful contact work with the kids that you're pursuing. God bless and love you.